Hello friends, I am going to start the next part of our topic growth and development. The title of next article in growth and development topic is plant responses to light and temperature. So under the heading of this plant responses to light and temperature, today I am going to discuss these points under the heading of photoperiodism. Introduction of this article, photoperiodism, then concept of the term photoperiodism, then definition of this term photoperiodism, and finally I am going to discuss the photoperiodic classification of plants. So we are aware of reproduction is the very important characteristic feature of any living system. It may be plant, it may be animal. All organisms shows reproduction process. The methods of reproduction may be variable in different organisms. That means reproduction is the very important characteristic of any living system. That means it may be plant or it may be animal. So as far as reproduction or growth and development as well as reproduction process in higher plants is concerned, the higher plant shows 3 phases in its life cycle. So these phases are initial or first phase is commonly called as seedling phase. Or it is also known as germination phase. Second phase in the life cycle of any flowering plant is commonly known as vegetative growth phase. And third phase, which is observed in the lifespan or life cycle of each and every flowering plant or higher plant, is commonly called as reproductive growth phase. So these are the prominent 3 phases which are observed in the lifespan of any flowering plant or seed bearing plant. So for the reproduction process, each and every flowering plant produces seeds. That means after pollination and fertilization, ovary is converted into fruit and ovules are converted into seeds. That means all flowering plants or seed bearing plants produces seeds. So what is the purpose of production of the seeds? So each and every organism try to maintain the continuity of the species. That means for the perpetuation of the species or to raise the next generation, each and every organism produces reproductive parts. So seed is the reproductive part of the each and every seed bearing plant. So these seeds which are developed in the fruits, they are responsible for perpetuation of the species or development of the next generation. That means each and every flowering plant, seed bearing plant produces the seeds, and with the help of seeds, after germination, new seedlings or new plantlets are developed. So these plantlets undergoes these 3 phases after formation of the seed. Seed germinates and forms the seedling. This is the initial phase, first phase. Then this after seedling phase, vegetative growth begins. Up to extent of some amount of vegetative growth, each and every plant start to produce the flowers or the reproductive organ known as flower. That means reproductive growth phase involves the development of the flowers. That means these auxiliary buds or terminal buds which are present in the plant body, they are converted into flower buds. After some extent of this vegetative growth, plants start this last phase, reproductive growth phase. That means the seed plays important role in the perpetuation of the species or development of the next generation. That means after definite amount of vegetative growth, plant starts the reproductive growth. So due to effect of some external and internal factors due to effect of certain or some external and internal factors. Due to the effect of some external and internal factors, many changes are going on in the plant body. These changes are commonly known as physiological changes, biochemical changes, histological changes, as well as morphological changes. So due to the effect of some external factors as well as some internal factors, these changes takes place during the course of the growth in the life cycle of the plant. That means many physiological changes are going on, many biochemical changes are going on, many histological changes are going on, and many morphological changes are also going on. So that means all these changes constitutes the reproductive growth. All these changes constitutes the reproductive growth. That means due to effect of some external changes and internal changes, these different changes takes place in the plant body, and these changes are responsible for the reproductive growth. So what is the meaning of the reproductive growth? I have told you over here. After some extent of vegetative growth, each and every flowering plant begins the reproductive growth. Reproductive growth is nothing but initiation of flower. Initiation of flowering. So initiation of flowering is the initial stage in the reproductive growth. After initiation of flower, pollination takes place, fertilization takes place, and formation of fruits and seeds takes place in each and every plant. That means reproductive growth. How we can identify the reproductive growth with our naked eye? If plant bears or plant produces the flowers, or when flowering starts, then we can observe with our naked eye reproductive growth is started in this particular plant. So the physiology of flowering is an important process in reproductive growth. Physiology of flowering is important process in the reproductive growth. So this physiology of flowering is controlled by genetic factors as well as nutritional factors as well as environmental factors. So that means this physiology of flowering, which is important process in reproductive growth, which is under the control of genetic factors, nutritional factors, and environmental factors. So out of these genetic factors, nutritional factors are also known as physiological factors. Out of these three factors, genetic factor, nutritional factor, and environmental factors. These environmental factors are very important, plays important role in the process of physiology of flowering. So each plant requires specific environmental conditions. For physiology of flowering or initiation of flowering. So if we observe the period of flowering, when seasonal plant start the flowers or produce the flowers, or when annual plant, if we take annual plant. annual plant requires few weeks for flowering process. Biennial plant requires few months for initiation of flowering. In case of perennial plants, it requires many years. Perennial plant requires many years for the initiation of flowering. That means period of flowering is variable depending upon lifespan of the plant. In case of seasonal plants or annual plants, few weeks are required for the beginning or initiation of flowering process. In case of biennial plant, few months are required for initiation of flowering. While in case of perennial plant, after completion of vegetative growth, reproductive growth begins in perennial plants also. The perennial plant requires many years for the initiation of flower. When vegetative growth is completed in perennial plants, when flowering starts, afterwards in particular season, in every year, all higher plants or flowering plants produces the flower. For example, mango. When vegetative growth of this mango plant is completed, the flowering begin to start. Flower production starts, and afterwards, in every summer season, in case of local varieties, in every summer season, mango plant shows blossom, or mango plant produces the development of the flowers. That means the period of flowering is variable in different plant species, in annuals, biennials and perennial plants. So the reproductive growth is very complex process. Reproductive growth is very complex process, and it is controlled by the two factors, environmental factors. Which are the two environmental factors which are responsible for controlling the reproductive growth? Light is the one of the important environmental factors, and another environmental factor is the temperature. That means out of the many environmental factors, moisture is there, wind velocity is there, atmospheric humidity may be there. So these factors are not taking part in the reproductive process of the plant, but this light factor and temperature factor basically plays important role in the reproductive growth. So in our syllabus, we are going to study our title of our topic, plant responses to light and temperature. So under this heading, we are going to study what is the role of light. What is the role of light in the reproductive growth? And also, under the heading of this temperature, we are going to study what is the role of temperature. Basically, low temperature. That means the effect of the light is very essential as far as reproductive growth in the plant is concerned, as well as low temperature exposure is also playing important role in the initiation of flowering in plants. So I am going to discuss further what is the meaning of this term, photoperiodism. What is the meaning of this term, photoperiodism? So that means we are going to discuss the concept of this term, photoperiodism. Then I am going to discuss what is the definition of this term, what is the meaning of this term, what is meant by photoperiodism. Then finally, photoperiodic classification of the plants. So as far as concept of this photoperiodism is concerned, light is very important factor. Light is very important factor as far as plant growth as well as development process is concerned. Light controls growth and development process in each and every plant. So many metabolic processes are controlled by light. For example, photosynthesis is one of the important physiological process which is observed in each and every green plant. So in this photosynthesis process, we know the role of light. In absence of light, photosynthesis is impossible. That means for the process of photosynthesis, light is predominant or light is very essential. Then another process is phototropism. Another process is phototropism. Another process is photoperiodism. So these three processes are under the control of light. All these are the three important metabolic processes in the plants which are under the control of light. Under the control of light. So some of these processes in the plant are controlled by light quality, some of the processes are controlled by light intensity, and some of the processes are controlled by light duration. Light duration. So as far as this term photoperiodism is concerned, what is the meaning of this term photoperiodism? Photoperiodism means the role of light period. Specifically, in the 24 hours day, there is no continuous light period. Some light period is there, some dark period is there. That means light and dark period is involved or present in 24-hour cycle or day cycle. So in our northern hemisphere, we are living in northern hemisphere, except the 2 days. Which are these 2 days? First day is 21st March. And another day is 21st September. So except these 2 days, in throughout year, the light period is variable. Dark period is variable in 24-hour cycle. 24 hours day or cycle, light and dark periods are not equal, variable. But in these 2 days, light and dark periods are equal. Light period and dark period are equal. That means out of the 24 hours day, exactly light period is of 12 hours, dark period is also of 12 hours. That means out of this 24 hours day cycle, exactly 12 hours of light period and exactly 12 hours of dark period is there. So except these 2 days, there is a variation in the light period and dark period in 24-hour cycles. That means in our hemisphere there are generally 2 seasons, from March to August. From March to August, there is a summer, and from September to February, there is a winter season. So if we observe the light period and dark period in summer season. So in summer season, this light period is more than 12 hours. Light period in summer season is more than 12 hours, and obviously dark period is less than 12 hours. If we see in winter season, the light period is less than 12 hours and dark period is more than 12 hours. That means naturally plants are exposed to the more light period and less dark period in summer season, and plants are naturally exposed to the more dark period and less light period. That means naturally light period or photo period which is getting by the plant is not uniform in winter season, and in summer season. So the term photoperiodism was coined by American agronomist or agricultural botanist. The name of these workers who used this term photoperiodism first time is the Garner and Allard. These two workers, they were working with the Maryland Mammoth variety of tobacco as well as the Glycine Max or soybean. These two experimental materials were taken by these two workers, Garner and Allard. These are American agricultural botanists. They were working with these two plants, Maryland Mammoth variety of the tobacco, that means giant variety of tobacco, and Glycine Max or soybean. So this Garner and Allard used the term photoperiodism for the response shown by the plant to the relative lengths of day and night. That means plant shows some response. Every flowering plant shows some response to the photo period as well as dark period, and the response shown by the plant to the relative lengths of light period as well as dark period was first of all studied by these two workers, Garner and Allard, while they were working with Maryland Mammoth variety of tobacco and Glycine Max or soybean. They were studying which factor is responsible for initiation of flowering. That means they will try to find out which factor is responsible for initiation of flowering in flowering plants. So as far as the definition of this term photoperiodism is concerned, we can define this term photoperiodism very simply. Simple definition is there. The response shown by the plant to the relative lengths of day and night in 24-hour cycle in different season throughout the year. What is the definition? The response shown by the plant to the relative lengths of day and night in 24-hour cycle in different seasons in a year or throughout the year. So this is the definition of this photoperiodism. So I would like to describe or discuss the experiment of this Garner and Allard. So this Garner and Allard, who discovered this important process known as photoperiodism, while they were working with the physiology of flowering in tobacco. They were working with physiology of flowering in tobacco as well as Glycine Max. Nicotiana tabacum is the botanical name of tobacco. So they have taken the Maryland Mammoth variety of tobacco. Maryland Mammoth variety of tobacco. That means this variety is commonly called a giant variety of tobacco. That means having more height, 14-15 feet height. Plants are grown naturally. So when they were working with these two plants, Glycine Max and this Maryland Mammoth variety of the tobacco, so they try to find out which factor is responsible for reproductive growth. So for finding this, they cultivated the seeds or sown the seeds of this plant in summer. They have taken the seeds of this Maryland Mammoth variety of tobacco and sown the seeds in summer. After germination, seedling develops after completion of vegetative growth, plant produces the flowers. So when these plants are cultivated during summer season, this plant remains vegetative. That means no flowering was reported. No flowering was reported, even though plants attains the height up to the 14 to 15 feet. They don't observe the flowers, even though the vegetative growth of the plant is completed. Plant attains height up to the 14 to 15 feet. But the same variety of the Maryland mammoth variety of the tobacco, when seeds of this variety, they were grown in winter as well as in polyhouse. That means under the controlled conditions, they shows the initiation of flowering in this plant when plants attains only 4 to 5 feet height. When plant attains only 4 to 5 feet height, they reported the flowering was initiated by the same plant when grown under cold climatic conditions like winter season or polyhouse, in which we can maintain the temperature artificially. That means from this they discovered that by observing different factors, which factor is responsible for initiation of flowering, they reported that this single factor, which is the single factor, photoperiod or light period in 24-hour cycle. Light period in 24-hour cycle is the single factor which plays important role in the initiation of flowering in this plant. That means during summer season, I have told you, in summer season, photoperiod in 24 hours day cycle or light period in this 24-hour day cycle is more than 12 hours. And in winter season, the photoperiod is less than 12 hours. That means when the plants are grown in summer season, they don't get short photoperiod. They get long photoperiod. Even though the plants are attaining the height of 14 to 15 feet, plants after completion of vegetative growth, they remain vegetative. That means no flowering was reported by these workers in this plant in summer season, with same variety when grown in polyhouses as well as in winter season. So in winter season, these plants are naturally getting short photoperiod. Then after completion of vegetative growth, when plants are exposed to the low temperature of winter as well as when plants are exposed to the low photoperiod, which is less than 12 hours, flowering was reported in this plant. And from this experiment, they discovered this photoperiodism concept. So by using this photoperiodism concept, they classified the plants into 3 categories. That means they have made the classification of plants by considering how much photoperiod is required by the plant for initiation of flowering. So on the basis of requirement of photoperiod, the plants are classified into the 3 categories, namely short day plants, long day plants, and day neutral plants. So which is the criteria used by this Gardner and Allard for the photoperiodic classification of plant? The day length or photoperiod in 24-hour cycle. Photoperiod means day length. So short day plants are those plants which are requiring short photoperiod for the initiation of flowering. Long day plants are those plants which are requiring long photoperiod for the initiation of flowering. And last category plant, day neutral plants. The flowering in these plants is not under the control of specific photoperiod. Even though they are getting short photoperiod, flowering can occur. Even these plants are getting long photoperiod, they can produces the flowers. For example, tomato, cucumber, chili, maize, these are the examples of day neutral plants. Day neutral plant. That's why we can purchase the chili in every season. Every season. Because these plants are cultivated by farmers in any season. In summer season as well as in winter season. That means these plants are commonly called as day neutral plants. So remaining part of this topic, the characteristics of these short day plants, long day plants and day neutral plants, we shall discuss in our next time. Thank you.